Grateful for our coaches. We just pray that you would bless this year, that you would grant us a spirit of peace in a time of unrest, that we would be a light wherever we are, wherever we play, whoever we host. We pray for freedom from injury, safety in travels, and Lord, that our kids would be challenged, that they would grow, and that they would develop their faith and love you deeply. In your name, amen. Kevin, go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Bruni. I'm the Assistant Athletic Director here at the high school and the middle school athletic director. And
so, as I said, I'm Jason Hirma. I'm the athletic director. You can see Kevin will put up the slides again for our emails. I really encourage you to use email. The office phones are they're not checked as often. We are constantly on our email. Many of you will wind up with my cell phone, which is fine too. I find that our people here have excellent discretion on whether or not to text me or to call me. So you can see Kevin Bruni is our assistant AD, middle school athletic director. He's also the varsity boys golf coach. Carolyn Grondike, the athletic administrative assistant. She also wears a lot of other hats around the district regarding data, Winterim, you name it. Very talented. And Dick Vanderkamp, he does everything. If you don't know him yet, if you're out at Gainey, you will see him. You'll get to know him. Just a word about our athletic department and who we are. We're a kid first group. We love our kids, and we really love our parents. And I just really encourage you, especially parents of freshmen, take the time to come and to get to know us. You see us at a game, come and say hi. Start building that relationship, getting to know each other. It makes my day better. It will help with your experience. We're a community. And we work best when we all know each other know each other well. Feel free to drop by the office, come and say hi, ask questions. Our parents are an incredible resource for us. So that's our athletic department staff. Kevin, on staying connected.
Yes, so we have a lot of ways for you to stay connected to what we're doing as a school. Sometimes people want to know how they can be connected to the things that are happening, special interest stories. The best way to get schedules, locations, results, stuff like that is grchristianeagles.org. And also TeamSnap, your coach, when you have once your child is on a team, your coach will invite you to be part of TeamSnap for a lot of the teams. So those are two places to get connected. Social media wise, it always helps us to make a positive community imprint when we can like, comment, and share on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We work very hard to put out positive messages on there. And so if you can like, comment, and share those things, and promote the positive things that we're doing, it's always very helpful for building our community and sharing the good news about what Grahams Christian is doing. Additionally, Carolyn Grondike sends out the Eagles Sport Report every single day. And so if you want to get connected to that, to have kind of what's been going on yesterday and coming up the next day, it's a great thing. There's a lot of really cool things in there. She shares pictures, interesting stories, and she puts a lot of time and energy into that. And it's just a great piece of Grahams Christian news and positivity. So please check out, email her if you'd like to get connected to the Eagles Sport Report. Next, sport performance. Damon Dixon is our director of sport performance. He's been doing that for about 12 years now and does a fantastic job for us. So he's in charge of all things lifting, training, speed, agility, growth, that sort of thing. So when your child's going to the weight room and doing training, they're going to be with Coach Dixon. Jenna is an athletic trainer, Jenna Cottle. She has been phenomenal for us, and we hope to continue to have a long relationship with her as our athletic trainer. But the two of them together, they work together in tune to make sure that injuries get taken care of quickly and back to play as soon as possible. Jenna always wants us to remind people that if there is an injury, you may always, of course, go to your family doctor. But if you go through Jenna, she typically will be able to connect you right away to the sort of care that you would need to get an athletic injury assessed immediately. A lot of family practitioner doctors they're fantastic at their job, but not necessarily sport focused, where some of the people that Jenna works with will be more sport focused. And Jason, you can finish up that thought and then head on to your next slide if there's something I missed from how to refer to Jenna or the doctors.
Regarding, just to echo what Kevin's saying, our sport performance department with Jenna and Damon is excellent, and your care, your child will return to play fastest if you operate through those systems. I have wonderful friends who are pediatricians. They're very smart. The people who handle athletic injuries every single day, all the time, those are the people who are best to go through. Regarding undue influence, does Grand Rapids Christian recruit? We absolutely do not. Our coaches are very carefully trained and educated about what is appropriate to speak to about with parents or kids that don't go to our school. We don't offer scholarships for anyone regarding athletics. That being said, it's really important that you share how much you love Grand Rapids Christian, that you talk about your experiences. We don't want you inviting the next point guard or the next shortstop. Hey, that's not your role. It is your role to share what a great experience you and your kids are having at Grand Rapids Christian, and that's okay. And if somebody has questions about how to enroll, you can see Vicky's information there. Email her. She's wonderful. She will connect with them and get them if they're interested in attending Grand Rapids Christian. Attendance policy. So it's very important that your child is in school by 10 a.m. That day. Again, obviously they should be there the whole day, but certainly by 10 a.m. Otherwise they will not play and they will not practice unless they are excused by me. And you can see the excuses there: a doctor's note, college visit, wedding, or funeral. The basic principle is that if they're too sick or they're too tired to attend class, they're too sick and too tired to play sports. We need to honor our academics and make sure that we're supporting our teachers, and most importantly, holding our kids accountable for their academic performance. Boosters. What a wonderful, amazing group of people. They are very dear to me. They wind up being some of the parents I get to know the best. And I really encourage you to, if you're interested in supporting athletics, you can either support by financially if you personally want to donate or your company would like to, or if you just like to be involved to raise money or to help us organize concessions or the logo loft. It's a great way to basically make a group of 20, 25 friends. We get together once a month. We have a lot of laughs. You get a little bit of an inside scoop as to what's going on in athletics. It's a really wonderful way to get plugged into Grand Rapids Christian. I really appreciate this group. The parents are absolutely key. You can see Jason Porte. He's our booster president. You can email him if you have questions, or you can email me too. I would love to hear from you.
Oh my God, what happened to you?
Kevin.
All right, Jason, thank you so much for the opportunity to kind of talk tonight. The company that I run just to help with leadership is called Grit Leadership, and it exists for you, and it exists for your kids. It exists for every leader in general. It exists to equip and empower leaders to build a grittier, more resilient generation. This is a big part of our athletic program, Grand Rapids Christian. And to empower that generation is whether it's you with your friends or also the generation that you're raising. Either one, the whole goal of the information that comes through this is to help us build a grittier, more resilient place to go. And let me show you what got my attention a few years ago as a well-meaning, loving coach, teacher, parent, and athletic director. What you see here is something, if you want to do this, you can kind of play the game and put those jumbled numbers into those boxes. But in 2012, you're looking at Stanford's research. Stanford gets, as I think we would all agree, the most acronym proficient kids in our country, maybe even in the world. ACT, SAT, GPA, AP classes, the stuff that schools are knocking out of the park, including our school. Our school's doing a phenomenal job with that. But the reason they started looking at this was because those kids weren't making it through their freshman and sophomore year. And so what they've decided to do is to check if this was a Stanford problem or an everybody problem. Turns out it was an everybody problem, and this is what I kind of learned about when I looked at this. And so what we see here are some of the statistics that, that came out of this study. And so this was from 2012, and you might say, hey, 2012, Kevin, that's kind of a long time ago. Well, in 2017, there was a book having research done called iGen. If you haven't read that, I would encourage you to check it out. But what that book found was that the statistics in 2017, with a society that was unchecked, not specifically paying attention to what was going on, that the flow of society socialized students to actually be not only almost exactly the same as this. The only statistic that was significantly different was the suicide rate had gone up to 16% in 2017. And so over those 5 years, not only did we not get better as a society just going about our business, we actually got worse in a very serious area. And so the question is, what's going to happen between 2017 and 2022? That's where we are today. And so 5 or 6 years ago, I thought, what can I do in my area of influence, athletics, coaching, parenting, my friends, whatever it may be, to make a difference in whatever small area that I can. And so what I wanted to do was start to try to figure this out. And I'll tell you what, between 17 and 22, we also had COVID, which is not going to help any of these numbers. So I wanted to try to make a difference as best that I could during that time to try to help kids and change these numbers in the opposite direction of where they're going. And so I started to do a little work and a little research, and I found this quote: when children aren't given the space to struggle through things on their own, they don't learn to problem solve very well. I'd love for you to continue reading that. I used to think that the next part of this was the most important part because it connected back to those percentages. But what I realized was that first sentence is quite haunting for us as leaders, because when children aren't given the space to struggle through things on their own, they don't learn to problem solve well. So who's not giving them space? See, the thing is, if we don't like the way that kids are, or we're scared about the percentages, we have to look back at ourselves, because we're the ones that give or don't give them space, that guide them or don't guide them the right way. If we don't like the way that students are going, we really have to point the finger back at us, and this haunted me. So I continued to do the work, and I started to think, if this is what's happening, what can I learn that can help us do that better? It becomes about us as the leaders. So we let ourselves into this situation, maybe directly or indirectly, but we can now purposefully lead ourselves out, at least in our sphere of influence in this school or this athletic department or in your circle of friends. And so we turn to some ideas of what we can do. One thing that we can do is we can change the narrative, right? Dr. Michael Merzenich is on the Mount Rushmore of people of growth mindset. He studied neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and grow over time. And what he found was that in his 40 years of research, at any age, with any talent level, you can get better at pretty much anything you want to, that we were designed by our maker, he says, to be continuously improved. That if we want to get better, we have to get to work. I don't want to simplify this, but basically what he's saying is that it's up to us. If we want to change the narrative, we can change it. If we want to change the way that we think, we can change it. If we want to change the way that we are, we can do that. We just have to get to work. We have to be intentional. So one of the things that I want to focus on tonight, that I focus on with a lot of people, is this idea of changing the narrative that exists in our world. Now, what you're going to see here is some narratives that are occurring in our world. These are not, extensive, but these are certainly things that are being talked about, right? Things that we feel. Okay. And so what we're trying to do is to change the narrative. So I have 4 changes that we can make, 4 ways that we can make a difference and lead ourselves into a better scenario. And I'd love for you to try to pay attention to these, maybe pick up on one thing tonight that you can do even tonight or tomorrow with your child to help us make a difference in our sphere of influence. And so the first one is this idea, change 1, desirable difficulty. right? That's the idea that difficulty is not a bad thing. I think that we live in a difficulty and failure averse world. We don't want difficulty, we don't want failure. Difficulty should be desired though, and failure should not be avoided, right? If we're gonna be our best. And so the one way I can explain this to you is if we were to go to the weight room today and I grabbed 5-pound weights and started doing bench press, the first thing that you would say is, can I get stronger doing that? We would say no. And let's take it a step further. If your son or daughter came home and said, hey, we went to the weight room today and lifted 5-pound weights, what would every parent say? Well, that was a waste of time. Why did you do that? So when it comes to fitness, we quickly understand that difficulty is desired. We want to push, challenge, hurt ourselves even, push ourselves to the brink of exhaustion, to the brink of pain. We do that for the benefit that we receive. But now if we change the filter and we say, hey, when it comes to winning and losing, when it comes to playing time, when it comes to difficulty in the locker room, or the way that a coach pushes my child in practice, or the way that they handled my child in a certain situation, all of a sudden we find difficulty to be a negative thing. Right? And it's so interesting that we can have these very two different perspectives. We can have a perspective of fitness where we try to get hurt. We try to do our hardest, do our best. And we have this perspective of, when it comes to these things, now difficulty is bad. I think one thing we can do in our mind is to change the narrative, right? We can change the narrative to say that difficulty is desirable because it helps us grow, that it shouldn't be avoided. Failure should not be avoided. It should be talked about. We should be allowed. Your children should have the margin to fail in your family when it comes to athletics, the way they manage the situation, whatever it may be. If we can teach them to not avoid the failure, but to be allowed to do it, then we have a very different narrative going on in our heads. Right now, at the same time, we have to make sure that we are not giving too much as leaders. If we give too much, we know they have no shot. So you look at this picture, that gentleman has no shot to lift that up, right? And we know that if we give them too much, we can crush them and they'll never do it. They'll just give up because they know there's no chance. So we have to find that balance. We have to find a way to make that happen. But what we do know is that failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time a little bit more intelligently. It's not something to be avoided. And also Kara Lawson, head basketball coach at Duke, women's basketball coach at Duke, says that things shouldn't get easier. Things never get easier. We just the best people just get better at handling hard, right? So things don't get easier. We get better at handling hard. And so that's a big thing. Don't avoid it. We don't practice so that things become easy. We practice and we grind and we push and we fail and all of those things so that we can handle hard things better than other people. And so first thing, change the narrative that difficulty is desirable for growth. Okay, change 2, it takes time, right? I have people say to me, hey, I'm not the best at tennis, I just haven't practiced a lot, and when I try to do it, I'm just not very good, and there's some other people that are better, and it's not my passion now, so I'm not going to play. And my response to them is always, well, it's not just tennis, it's any sport. I'm just using tennis because this happened last year. Is maybe that's exactly why you should do it. Maybe you should take the time to do something that isn't easy for you. Maybe we should learn to take the time. Grit is a marathon, not a sprint, right? We live in a world that is built on immediacy. And if we don't have something perfect right away, we usually don't like it or we discard it. Not sure that's the narrative we want to teach our children by the way we go about our lives. And so maybe what we should do is try to do the opposite of that. Grit is the opposite of immediate. It takes time to be good, and it takes time to go through difficult things and get better at them. If we just do fitness one day, we don't get stronger. We have to do fitness over time, and we all believe in fitness, right? So again, change number 2, that just because something's difficult for you, just because you're not excessively passionate about it, doesn't mean it shouldn't occur, okay? Things take time, and we need to teach our kids, hey, stick with it. Stick with it. You're going to get better. It's going to be hard. Remember, difficulty is desirable. Change 3, it's important to opt in. You have to actually practice doing the work. In this day and age, the way we sit in front of computers like tonight, we can learn a ton listening to me talk about this, watching a video, whatever it may be. We can pretend and lie to ourselves that we're learning so much, right? But What we also know is if we don't practice what we learn, if we don't opt into the repetitions of practicing the things that we've intellectually learned, then we do not learn them forever. We just don't get it done. And so we know that if kids just had to listen in class and never do homework or apply an assignment or do a project, they wouldn't learn it very well. And we all know that. When it comes to golf, everybody wants to be better at golf. Everybody gets a swing tip, can watch Instagram, get a grip change, whatever it may be. If it doesn't work, right, in those 3 tries, they just quit it and go back to what they do. If they want it to be different, they actually have to practice doing the work. They can't just learn about it on Instagram. I catch myself in those things too. In your brain, what fires together wires together. Your brain's like a muscle. You got to work it out. If you want something to be different, if we want to change the narrative, we have to practice changing the narrative. We have to have our antenna up to listen for when we need to opt in, that it's going to take time to do something that's difficult. We have to constantly feed that information into our child's brains and into our own brain if we want to change the narrative. But what I'll tell you is the 4th thing, change number 4, is number 1, the hardest, but also one that we have to pay very, very close attention to as the leader in people's lives. And what that is this idea that we can't rob reps. As leaders, we are totally in charge of the repetitions that our kids get. Okay, I know we have less and less control over our kids as they get older. And trust me, I'm a father of 2 5-year-old twin girls and a 9-year-old boy with autism. And I get less and less control each year. But we still have the opportunity to lead them in certain ways. And sometimes as a parent, I know you might feel as if you fixed something or you fixed it for your kid and then they just messed it up again. It might look something like this.
What happened?
We help them out, we're ready to go, see what we did, and then they jump right back in, right? It's just like if I go home tonight and our house is all picked up or not picked up, it's dirty, and my kids are watching TV and I want to be nice, I want to be a kind, loving dad, so I let them watch TV and I pick everything up. And then I say to them, hey, tomorrow, everybody picks up before. What do they all say? Oh yeah, Dad, of course, thanks, Dad. And then tomorrow, what happens? Everything's left out. And now I thought that I was doing a great thing, being nice and kind, but I robbed them the reps of going through that. When they feel the struggle, when they have to opt in to take the time to get the struggle of cleaning all those things up in this specific way so that they can have this reward, then I don't rob them of those reps. And so one way we can apply this to coaching or to athletics. What about playing time? Let's use an example. Okay, as a playing time, we don't necessarily love the playing time that our child is getting. Maybe our child doesn't like it either. Should we call coach as the parent? It's a tough question. So think of it this way. Let's say that you do call coach and coach listens to what you say. And then coach, he goes and changes the playing time. And people know that you called coach to get the playing time changed, right? So now what does everyone else in that culture think? In order for their child to get playing time, they have to call coach. And we've created a culture where we have to call coach to get the things that we want. It's an anxiety-filled culture. It's an excited culture. It's a culture that's on edge, right? All because we were trying to help our kid maybe get a little bit different recognition. And we got to be careful not to do that. Perhaps we could do it differently. We started today by saying that kids need space to struggle through things on their own. They need us, but maybe not the way we think that they need us. They need a guide. They don't need a hero, they need a guide. Guides help heroes become the hero of their own story. They need us to listen, to be wise enough to know what's at stake, to be wise enough to see the big picture, and then to guide them or give them a hint on how to become the hero of their own story when it comes to playing time. Maybe we can coach them to figure out how to talk to coach about that, so that it's player oriented instead of parent. Because what we don't want is for you to sit on the sideline trying to enjoy the game, see another parent talking to coach, and all we can think about is, gosh, is their kid going to get more playing time now? Because we've created that. Maybe instead of robbing those reps and creating an odd situation, maybe we can just coach our child. Maybe we can do it. Because just like Yoda for Luke and Morpheus for Neo in the Matrix, guides don't win the battles. They just help the heroes win the battle. So on the right here, we have this video of a sheep laying on its back. Sheep rolls over on its back, Sometimes while they sleep on accident, they trip, fall, whatever. They have very flat backs, I'm learning. So what happens is they don't have the momentum to be able to get up and move. They're stuck. It's a very undesirable situation. If they do not get help, they will eventually die there. Other sheep don't necessarily know how to help them.
How
So
do you
they
help
need human help to get through it. They need human help to get through it. If the gases build up inside the sheep when they're flipped upside down, their body and their gases build up in a weird way and they will die. So they're struggling. They definitely need our help. It's a common feeling as a parent. We know when our kids need our help. We often know how to fix it, just like we know how to fix this sheep, right? And so the question is, how do we manage that situation? Because the help that is given by this shepherd, as we're watching this video, it's not a scoop up, put him in a stretcher, put a blanket on him, give him some food, give him a special water. What he does is just help the sheep enough so the sheep can help himself. And once the sheep is up, it struggles. Struggle isn't over. And the reason it struggles is because those gases are trying to right themselves, get the brain chemistry back on track after being set in the wrong place. There's a lot going on in the mind there, and it's not an immediate fix. But the shepherd says they're a bit wobbly when they get up, but it's important they learn to stand on their own again, even if they fall. It's important for us to realize that our children it's important for us to realize that our children need us, right? We have to change the narrative, and they need us, but they need us to be guides, not heroes. You will be the hero to your child if you help them own how to become successful in their own story, not creating the story for them to live, helping them become successful. No child says, thanks for always making everything easy for me, mom and dad, when they're older. I always say, thanks for being there for me, supporting me, for loving me, for guiding me. We can change the narrative and we can change a generation. That's what I'm all about with this company that I lead to help schools and help all of our parents. Will you partner with our coaches in our athletic department this year to be great guides who see the big picture and advise our kids and support them by not robbing them of the opportunity to opt in to the time it will take to deal with these difficult situations? We can use the classroom of athletics, the place where we have an influence, to help them fully engage in the story that God is writing for their life. We hope that you will. We hope that you'll join us. We hope that you'll push your kids and coach your kids into those challenging situations where they can opt in to the reps it takes to manage those difficult situations on their own as we go. Thanks a lot. I look forward to seeing you all around. I'm going to pass it back to Jason.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Kevin's saying, I really think the parents here at Grand Rapids Christian are the secret sauce for our success. I really do. I think that the vast majority of our parents are willing, they understand the need for struggle. They understand the need to allow their kids the space to be able to develop those skills to navigate hard situations. And athletics is just a great spot where we artificially create those to create training for the real situations later in life, like negotiating with your boss or navigating hard situations with neighbors or legal things or anything like that. So in dealing with adversity, we want to remember a 24-hour rule. Please don't approach a coach right after a game. That never works well. And our process is that when there's an issue, you want to have your son or your daughter go and talk to the coach person to person and have them work it out. You certainly want to prep them, help them give some words, shape their ideas maybe they're really emotional and they just need a little bit of guiding. But please let them do that. We can solve 95% of athletic issues right in that meeting. The other 4.9% can be solved parent and player and coach. I really don't want our coaches meeting strictly with parents. If the player's not present, the meeting is useless. They need to be present. Again, it's a spot where you can just encourage and help guide the meeting from your son or daughter's perspective, but let them do it. The last phase is I get involved. Again, just helping to spot the situation, like Kevin said in the lifting piece, not doing all the work, but just helping guide it. Again, it's very rare and not something that I should be involved in commonly at all, but that's the process that we want to go through. I also want to be very clear for our parents that getting coaches now is harder than ever. You can go to Taco Bell and make 20 bucks an hour and get paid the next day. And our coaches work 5-6 days a week for an embarrassingly low amount per hour. Hopefully they don't calculate that. They do it because they love our kids, our school, they love the sport. And it's so important for you to continue to support and help them grow. We have some young coaches. We do. We're hiring them younger and younger. And you're part of our team that helps to mentor and grow them. It's okay for you to ask hard questions. Do it kindly, do it respectfully. So in the supportive parenting piece, thanks, Kevin, for calling that up. As a parent, I've had 5 kids go through the system now. My youngest is a junior here. Especially for you freshman parents, I really want to encourage you, get to know everybody on your team, sit as a group, make friends. You're going to be together for several years. Please make sure that you're including other parents. They're sitting off in a corner. Go say hi, ask them to come sit with you. We have about half of our kids come from Grand Rapids Christian schools and the other half don't. And many of those parents come in, they're not sure, they don't know, they might not know anybody. And it's part of your role to be hospitable to them. And in terms of hospitality, making sure that you're just cheering for our team, don't cheer against the other team, and certainly, absolutely leave the officials alone. I need to be crystal clear on that. The officials they're leaving the profession in droves, and primarily because of parent conduct. Our school in general has done a good job with that. We need to continue and we need to do better. Right now, we're a place that officials want to come and officiate because we generally do a good job. But we can't tolerate harassment of officials. Let's see here. In regards to the coach, also, one of the things too that I find often interesting as a parent is you start to develop a lens of how you perceive the coach. Your son or daughter is not a starter. And by the way, I've had the whole gamut: starter, cut, everything in between. And you start to have a lens that my coach doesn't like my kid. That is incredibly rare, and they typically don't last to be able to coach for me. It's really important that when you experience difficulties, that your lens is a positive one for the coach. When you're around the dinner table, how you talk to your kid enables them to be coached by the coach, or sometimes not. If you're a coach doesn't know what they're talking about, that perception will bleed over to your son or daughter and make it even more difficult. The one other piece too, and many of you are you play club athletics. That's important. We need kids playing, but please take what your club coaches say with a grain of salt. Where they're coming from is a little bit more self-serving. They want people to come and continue to do their programs and pay the money. And they like to tell parents and kids that their son or daughter should be the starter, should be the leading scorer, should be all of these things. Might not necessarily be true. Come to tryouts with a clean slate and an open mind, and know that our coaches want the best for the entire team. Faith formation. faith formation is so important to all of us here in the athletic department. And if you could, in the chat, just tell us what you're hoping your child will experience spiritually as a Grand Rapids Christian high school athlete. So if you could put things in there that would be important to you, that your child, the portrait of a graduate that they'll walk away from Grand Rapids Christian with. I really want to encourage you to check in with your child and coach on what they're doing with faith formation. We don't prescribe a one-size-fits-all approach. Different programs handle things different ways, but we do require that they have a deliberate, well-thought-out program for faith formation. I also really encourage you to get involved. Some of our most powerful times have come when parents have come to it and shared their testimonies with the team. It's really opened our kids' eyes as to the struggles and the successes that the adults experience. So I really encourage you to get involved with your team in that aspect. Some additional details for you. We stream out of both of the stadium and the Quest. So any athletic events that are in those venues are live streamed, and you can sign up for the National Federation of High Schools. We will send out that link. And when you sign up, when you pay, there's a small monthly fee. It gives you access to all of the schools nationally that have that, which includes a lot of our local schools. So even away games that we go to, many of them are streamed. So if you have a grandma and grandpa in Arizona or Florida that want to watch, a lot of our games are live streamed. Please check that out. Our video boards are new, also in the stadium and the Quest. Please be patient as we continue to develop that technology and grow it for your benefit and for our kids' benefit. We're really blessed to have it and really enjoying exploring it. The all sport passes are available to be purchased on the website, and you can pick up your your passes at the office now. COVID, just a quick word on that, if you did have some concerns or whatnot with that, please give me a call directly. There currently aren't any restrictions on buses or at games. Transportation, boy, I wish we could provide more, but we are drivers, I'm sure all of you are aware, are in such a shortfall. So please be paying attention to your coaches will let you know, but there's going to be a lot of parent driving. We try to provide buses as much as we can, but we have limited drivers right now. So Kevin and I will stay online. Carolyn's also in the chat too, helping answer questions. We'll stay here to answer any questions you can ask us verbally. You can put them in the chat. We love you. We love our community. We're really excited. We had a great day starting today. Lots of excitement. It's great to see the kids around the building. And we hope to see you as well. The meeting is officially ended at this point.